Hello dear students, let's discuss about the President rule, which is also emergency in the state. In the last class we have already discussed about the national emergency. I think you have some idea regarding the national emergency. In the emergency provisions we will have national emergency, the emergency in the state, which is commonly known as President rule, and the financial rule. So let's see, what about the President rule? The Constitution has provided Article 356 that the President to take over the administration of such a state, including that of Union Territory, in its own hands, either on recommendations of the governor or otherwise. Article 356 of the Constitution have been amended several times. Before the passing of 38th Amendment, it had been provided that, clause 4, a proclamation of emergency so approved shall unless revoked cease to operate on the expiration of 6 months from the date of the passing of the second approving the proclamation under clause 3. Haidi President rule na stated chalaiba kanda proclamation of emergency so approved shall unless revoked okre aduga maki normal term se khatar oigani hai adubu kedawe amu 38th Constitution Amendment Act added one more subclause which says that clause 5, notwithstanding anything in this constitution, the satisfactions of the President mentioned in clause 1 shall be final and conclusive and shall not be questioned in any court on any ground. I, the President na President rule state ta thamba kanda court ta kaida chatla kanda maram chabra chadabra kanda court ta move to anta yadeba yam powerful loibani ko. In this way, the court were debarred from inquiring whether the takeover of state administration by the president was justified or not. And the young way address, Chummi Chum de Kakem, Chive address president rules the Lagitar Gatiko. Powers in the president alone, passing the name. Then the 42nd Constitution Amendment made another change in this article of the Constitution. By this amendment, it was provided that the duration of emergency will not be 6 months but 1 year. 42nd Amendment da chahi ama bawa oibe yani na mga say khataruk magi validity lem do chahi ama bawa chatnagani na muhay. But adubu amuk kaidawe today in another 44th Amendment also touched this article. It reduced the period of emergency again to the 6 months from 1 year. 44th Amendment amuk hana ki fibam da dum 6 months da dum lehengani legani na amuk warebam law. It also omitted subclause 5 as asserted by the 38th Amendment, added thereby restoring the court their original right but made another change, a new subclause in place of the one omitted. It has now been provided that in case an emergency in a state is to continue beyond 1 year from the date of issue, high riba national emergency state the president rule se thataru oigani lerambase sahi ama ontokani warep lormelo. But in the subsequent amendment of the 44th Amendment, it was revoked again. Then it says that it will retain at the time of passing of any such resolution. The Election Commission certifies that the continuance and force of proclamation approved under clause 3 during the period of specified in such resolutions is necessary on account of difficulties in holding general elections to Legislative Assembly of the state concerned. Marwina President rule na state thambakanda kaidogi thamino haibakanda ekoigi government nama form tawrisi elected representatives sing MLA sing na state ko MLA sing na तौरकांदा गवर्नमेंट अमा फॉर्म तौरिनी हाइरिबा गवर्नमेंट से चरांग नरक्तना लेबाक से तंगदु लेताना एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से तौबंग नमक्तबा कांदनी प्रेसिडेंट रूल स्टेट ता लेगदोसिको अदसिगी प्रेसिडेंट रूल से लेबा कांदा कोई कनो से लेरिबा सरकार से मुथत खिबे याय नतरना मतम खरा सस्पेंड तौरगा थमगिबे याय अदुगी मतम दुदा करिगुंबा मुथत कितारगदी अमुक हन्ना नौना इलेक्शन तौबदा फिबम इलेक्शन तौबा याबगी ओथोपा लेब्रा लेतब्रा लॉ एंड ऑर्डर से फजना मेंटेन तौदना स्टेबल ओरब्रा इलेक्शन तौबा यारगदी काना हाइबना चिंबा इलेक्शन कमीशन गी मोट मयाममा हाइरिबा कोगी प्रेसिडेंट रूल से लौथोपा कांदा दरकार ओय अदुबने सिगे क्लोज लिस्ट द हाइरि से इलेक्शन कमीशन ना करिगुंबा इलेक्शन तौबा याबा मतम ओइरे नत्रगा ओइद्री से मन लेफ्टोइनि को अदुना says the clause 3 the higher during the period of specified in such resolution is necessary on account of difficulties in holding general elections to legislative assembly of the state concerned. President rule se thamgadoi se particular state amado OBI natra state ani do OBI ohum do OBI all state ka kogi India da develop thambadi amda thamdri state amada ani da thambadi dum yawri ko aina hoji high condition khara Niamni muhutuna lengat pangamaktraba aduga akogi sasan phajana lerekta taragati president rule orakna bagi macha gam chawna oi when such a proclamation of emergency is made it is left to the president to assume to himself all or any of the functions of the state and he might make such necessary changes which according to him become unavoidable to implement of the proclamation. He can even suspend some of the provision of the constitution, of course not those relating to the state high court. President na state tugi magi chatnariba ain phawwa dum khara makai di dum help torga help hadi suspend torga thammangami then adubu state high court ko mari lenaba dinnatab ko then another he will then conduct the administration of state through governor of appoints advisors to assist him in the discharge of his constitutional functions. Masagi president rule thaminge matamda president na state se chalai doni to kana gi through chalai ge da governor na ko state lai se governor state da mangonda advice to na advisor na khalle karai de khalle do di administrative officers high ranking ko executive kangu sing hai tare oigi makoida power se pi da kanda makoigi kuthang da president na sarkar koigi state to gi my government administration the paishan doine ko during this period all the laws for the state and its budget will be passed by the parliament state ki hana tawjaramba state ki assembly da kaida law sema makolam se sigi matanda law in parliament loin chakrani such a law will have full effective during the period of emergency of the state concerned. Aduna sigi matamda sembal law do magi hoji emergency akogi president rule lainge matamda full effective oine bako. But it will be in operation only for a period of 6 months after the emergency has been lifted and the state assembly reconvened. Masay mamang da given mind tawna President rule se tha taruk chetkani hai tha taruk ki manung stage da anoba law maduda sema madu adubok leigani adugi matung tarakpada akoi ki assembly amuk hamaktane assembly amuk hanjalak taragadi magi law dom leiroi joni ko aduna amuk next recent past a device of half emergency has also been introduced in the state politics under which the assembly is not dissolved but kept in a state of suspended animation. Among the Sunahai, sometimes state ki labor assembly se mutat kibay natragana mutat na matamkara suspend torga function tohna thambako. During this period, if a law passed by the parliament goes against a law passed by the state assembly, the farmer will prevail. Hai disigi matam says the parliament na lorokpa law se state ki law da law gi assembly na lorokpa law gi against the laitara ga so parliament na law law na supersede or kanda madu na set na ganin ko Under this device, the assembly is not dissolved, but at the same time, it does not function. As soon as normal conditions return, the assembly is made to function again. Suspended animation and suspend toroga thamgiba matamdu loirakanda pibamse pagalakanda amuk hangalakba mangasagi president rule se lokthokrakanda di amuk assembly se hanjal akanda function tawba hawdoini aduga suspend toringi manungda di mase function tawba yararoi MLA mantri ne di hairagasu madu loina suspend toroga lairadoni magi power do loi lokthokradoini buko. Then yengo station 42nd amendment provided that the center shall be competent to send armed forces to a state if that is felt absolutely necessary to maintain law and order in the state. Law and order singa center na president state to the armed forces deployed to way thousand by heba. But very interestingly, that amendment was also revoked by the subsequent amendment that state army armed forces cousin bayabagi haksiloktoki before. Then next how the president rule state thamba president rule gi tangka amal loigre maduda ikone nenegi je kainada laibak to gi state to gi mage government se function fajana administration ji tawba ngamakta taragadi governor na recommendation ama president da irakanda state se tangdu laita stable oidre na president da report tawrakanda high river report to parliament da discuss tawrakanda or the day high river state se da president rule thammasi na masai president rule thamba hasmaktabu state to ke power do president na loina paishin gradoini lebak ngak nanaba assembly toraga khalliba mihut chingdu matamda power layer robo aduna hairi ba magi validity se tha taruk laigani adgi amuksu sahi ama amuk sangdo me sahi ama amuk sangdo amma se amuk tha taruk ta dum hanjalalle then adugi matungda amuk hairi ba sige state ki president rule laigi matamda even kano fawba tongan ba right fawba khara adum suspend tawba khara kano tawba ngambagi hak fawba adum piri bako. Then next we will come to the financial emergency, which is also very important, but so far no financial emergency was existed in India. The financial emergency se the financial emergency se karino has Article 360, President can proclaim financial emergency if he is satisfied there is great threat to the financial security or credit worthiness of India. Such a threat can be for a whole country or any part thereof. President na karigumba lebak sida lamses da India gi oina natragana state amada particular sentung pibam phachal laktre yam akai boy katore kan khallakade financial emergency se lokthok pa yai habko. Emergency se lokthok pa yai. Whenever such a declaration is made, it is provided that the executive authority of the union shall extend to give directions to the states. The president then can give directions to any state to observe canons of financial propriety and may also give such other directions which he may consider necessary for financial stability of the state. Higher basic financial emergency law to president na state singda makogi chatnariba sentumgi kaitopagi fiba moro de kanoro yam chechenna tangai phadana kaide yadaba khara khangatna ataidi kaithokpa yadaba de lengdana financial position phagatri bawba lengdana thamnaba gidamakta direction mayama hukum mayam pibe yai ko. Then kaidawe today during the operation of such emergency, salary and the allowances of any officers or persons serving in the state can be reduced. Tolop pawba ko sarkar gi thabak toiba tolop chari jibabuda makoigi tolop se handa halakpa pawba yai. Then all money bills which have already been passed by the state legislature are to be reserved for the approval of the president before they are being put into operation. The president can reduce even the salaries of the judges of the High Court and the Supreme Court. Haidi Hanana Assembly da Ukatana pass to grab money bill Bawa Madu Satna Handana, Kaimachana Tagadi, President Ayab Logra Yaro, Habigi, Rejab Tauraga, Adubabu the Tamgani. The President can reduce even the salaries of the judges of the High Court. High Court judge Babatolab Handala. Then, other than that, 42nd Amendment provided that it shall not be open to court of law to inquire into the reasons of the proclamation of the financial emergency. Kanagumba akoigi courta akoigi high river financial emergency se laptopagi maram karino kana courta chalaga mukto hogi right amata laite amta madugi ayaba kanada laite ko. Then the 44th Amendment further changes that Parliament will have to be informed about the issue of such proclamation, which will cease to operate at the expiration of 2 months unless approved. Either Article 360 of the Constitution says that if the President is satisfied that a situation has arisen whereby financial stability or credit of India or any part of the territory is threatened, he may be make declaration to that effect. And a high river financial emergency say, see labor kanda magi chatnagadaba my validity say, ta ani katani, ta ani say lorakanda magi financial emergency say, Wesangani adubu, Article 360 says the Tonganba Amendment Khalari to the high river amendment of Palidity, close to the Mukai. A proclamation issued under Clause 1 may be revoked or varied by a subsequent proclamation, shall laid before each House of Parliament, shall cease to operate at the expiration of 2 months, unless before the expiration of that period it has been provided by resolution of both House of Parliament. Then during the period of any such proclamation, as is mentioned in Clause 1, is in operation, the executive authority of the Union shall extend to give direction to any state to observe canons of financial propriety, and may also give such other directions, and to give up such other directions as the President may deem necessary and adequate for the purpose. Tonganba high basic financial emergency lady matamda state financially section by tare yamna rule yamna strictly canons of financial propriety in high sentum se na matamda angai phadana kaigadaba khak natana ataidi kai thoktana sammakanda magi financial position do phadhanaba whatna kani haba aduna financial emergency se so far haujibaudi laptoktre india ki oina aduga yam tai phadana sentum gi phibam yam social laklaba even say hojik manipur tengnariba india ra tengnariba worldwide na tengnariba coronavirus harasi coronavirus ki matangda aikogi lockdown chan toroktana financial position social lakta ragadi aikogi financial emergency se lawrakpa yabagi phibam bhawa lakadoine ba hojik makudi aduma ki phibam di oiba natri ko aduna let's wind up here. I think you have got the idea of president rule in the state and the financial emergency. In the financial emergency, the validity is 2 months only, whereas in president rule, it is 6 months. And the assembly may be suspended animation or even dissolved. So you please discuss again at your home. In the next class, we will discuss about the human right protection during the national emergency. Thank you very much.